Hi, I just want to welcome you to Her Time. Here we are, the four of us in conversation. Today, we're going to be talking about the empty nest and our experiences in that, any questions that we might have for each other, any tips that we've learned along the way. But before I even get started in introducing my friends and myself, I want to make sure that I remind everybody about our email. We love to hear comments. We love to hear suggestions and read the emails that come in. The email for Her Time is hertime, the number 4, the word talk @gmail.com. And then, of course, we ask you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Her Time. And the reason for that is that you'll be notified when we have new episodes launch. And we've been able to do that now every 2 weeks. That's the cycle. So you'll know when it comes on. And then, of course, follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We would appreciate thumbs up on the channel when you do watch the episode. And again, comments on our social media platforms as well. So we're going to get started. I'm going to leave myself to the end as far as introduction. So if we could get started, ladies, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jeanette. And as far as this empty nest journey, I have 3 kids, so that would be 66.6% in the empty nest zone, something like that, 66.3 or whatever. So I have 2 sons that are married and out of the house, obviously, if they're married, oh, hopefully. And then I have an adult daughter who is still at home, but I hardly ever see her. So it's almost, no, I'm just kidding. She's home. And that's it.
I'm Regina. I have 2 boys. They're still home. One is 18 and, he could leave tomorrow. He could, stay with me another 10 years. I don't know. But my youngest, he's only 13, and I think I'm going to have him forever. I don't.
Oh. Hi, I'm Rosie, and I have 1 daughter who's 15, and I am on my way. I'm on the journey. Not yet, but we're getting there.
Yeah. Well, my name is Daisy. I have 2 adult daughters, both married, and actually they're coming to celebrating their 5th anniversary this fall. Each of them got married 24 days within each other. So I've been an empty nester now for several years. So let's go ahead and get started. I love this topic. So I'm actually going to start with Jeanette because she's already realized that empty nest experience. And Jeanette, I want to know if it's what you had imagined it would be.
I don't know if this makes me weird or what. Well, I'm always weird, but oh my gosh, I think I came into like empty nesting or on the journey of empty nesting, like kicking and screaming, like, no, don't leave me, no. I know, obviously I'm happy for them. They're happily married, they're thriving, they're doing well. I am beyond blessed about that. But I would say that it was very hard for me to like let them go. Like, I think especially with one of my sons, because he moved out before being married. And in my house, it was always like, or I don't know if it's in the Hispanic, I don't know, whatever, but
yeah.
It was almost like you left when you got married, And so when he left without being married, it was like, what? What do you? No,
We don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not how it goes. That's not the rule.
You leave for college or you leave to get married.
Exactly. And so when he left, I took that one really hard. Oh my gosh. I remember specifically it was the day he was moving out. There's the U-Haul truck in the front. He's got all his things. And he's asking me, Mommy, you want to come and help me set up? And I was like, I can't do it right now. I can't. And so I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And so Papo, my husband and him went and they kind of started doing everything. And it took me all day to like prepare myself. And then I went on my own later that night with like a little a home gift, you know, like a little,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Housewarming.
a little gift and some things he needed and stuff. And I took it to him, and I spent maybe about an hour with him or 2 hours just helping him set up some stuff. And on my way home, I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but I cried like a babe. Actually, I'm not embarrassed. I cried like a baby on the way home, like literally crying. Oh my gosh, so bad. It was.
Yeah, I remember when my girls, like I said, 24 days apart. So I had to, take this on. I didn't ease into it at all. And I remember my girls lived, we had set up 2 bedrooms in the basement. They had their own bathroom and all of that. I refused to go to the basement where my washer and dryer were. For 2 weeks, I just could not go down there. And the first time I went down there and saw the emptiness of it, it was like literal empty nest, like, oh my gosh. And I just sat and cried. There was 1 chair left, an office chair, and I sat by my dryer and I just cried, so yeah, it's not an easy thing. So I'm gonna, Reg, are you preparing for the kids at all? Leaving?
No.
Do you think about that at all?
Honestly, no. I mean, when we were thinking about this episode, I have a 13-year-old, and even if Roman were to leave, he went on a mission this summer, and I was fully preparing myself for him to say, Mom, I just want to stay here at this mission for a few months. And I was fully prepared for him to say that. And I was excited, I mean, we live in a small place and, thinking of the extra room, great. But I was excited because if that was his choice, I would have, been happy. Now, if he would have decided like Jeanette, if he would have said, you know what, Mom, I found an apartment on the other side of town, I'm going, I'd be like, what? No, I can see the difference.
Yeah.
But at this point, I still have my 13-year-old, and I don't see that coming anytime soon.
Yeah.
So that's, I have to live it day by day. So what's going on today? Okay, what's going on tomorrow?
Yeah. And I know that you said of Cruz, your younger son, he's just gonna buy you a house and you'll live in the house with him. Yeah.
I told him, you're just gonna have to buy your mom a house and stay with me. And he's like, okay.
Yeah. So, Rosalyn, do you and Jose talk about it, like what that might look like when it's Selah's turn?
So we haven't discussed that yet. But I could only imagine Jose handling it a lot better than myself. I feel I'm going to be a wreck. And the reason why I say that is because, yeah, I mean, she's my only one, right? And then she's a girl. But currently two of my nieces, one of my nieces went off to college, and my sister-in-law was telling me it was hard on her. And then my other sister-in-law has her daughter who will be heading to college next year. And she's like, Rosie, prepare yourself, because she's like, I'm having a hard time with it. So I put myself in her shoes, and I can just see myself bawling, crying, her being away, being a bit more independent. So it's a little scary, because she's talking about what colleges she wants to go to. So she's got 2 years of high school left. So in my mind, I do feel like I am somewhat preparing myself, but then I'm just trying not to think about that too much, because I want to enjoy the time I do have with her.
Yeah.
And Jose was like, something came up this week, and he's like, we only have 2 years left with her. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're just out of control. I was like, you know what? You handle things differently. I handle things my way. So just relax, buddy. But yeah,
Yeah, I think there's wisdom in thinking about it, not denying, because that, that is the goal. That's a healthy home is when you raise kids and they go out on their own and they put into practice everything that you've taught them. All of that is going on, but it can't become an obsessive thing where it interrupts life day to day because you want to enjoy it. You don't want to think back to, oh my goodness, the last 2 years, I was so preoccupied with the empty nest piece of it that I didn't enjoy my kids,
Yeah.
So let me ask Jeanette, what does your household look like now? Like just even the physical space. What have you done, since the boys have been gone?
So there was 2 rooms that were theirs at one time or another. Like we have a room in the basement, like the way Ariana and Christina did, and they shared a room for a little while. Then for a little while they split with another bedroom that's upstairs, and so now that bigger bedroom downstairs is now my husband's office for work. So he works from there, and then it's also / craft room / catch-all. And then upstairs, there's that extra room is now a guest bedroom.
Yeah.
I know our grocery bill definitely has gone down. Yeah, so it just, I don't know. I know at first it was definitely quieter. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really quiet.
I remember one of the things that going into, like, this is the season, my girls are going to be gone. One of the things that I think I've probably mentioned this before, but one of the things that was heavy on my mind at the time was, oh my goodness, that means that I'm going to be left alone with my husband again. We haven't been, alone, living out marriage alone for 28 years now. I'm going to have to get to know him again, and I don't know that I was looking forward to that. So that was a thing that was really heavy on me. Not only that, of course, I was dealing with the depression. I actually went into a depressive season because my girls were gone. I just was missing them all the time. And they were still local. And then a year later, we had to deal with the fact that our older daughter and her husband moved away, 500 miles away. So that was another thing. But this is why I bring this point up, is I'm really grateful for the empty nest life, because my younger daughter and her husband moved in with us last year in November. They just moved out into their new home 2 days ago. And I remember when they came back, it was like, I want my house. I want to be alone. I want to be with my husband alone in this house. And then, of course, they're 10 months here. And when Christina and I were in the kitchen and she's packing up the last of the things 2 days ago, all of a sudden I start bawling like, oh gosh. And she's, Mom, it's okay. It's going to be okay. I said, I'm just kind of reliving those feelings of when you first left. And I'm just going to miss you. I had nightmares the first day, like she's not here. How is she? That kind of stuff. And it was re-experiencing the emptiness. But 24 hours later, I turned to my husband and I said, I'm over it. I'm glad to have my house back. And I'm really glad to have my house back. So
what are we going to do with the basement?
The basement is now fun for us. It's a fun space. It's going to be our guest space in the back. And my husband is reclaiming it as his sports TV room.
Cave room.
Man cave.
Yeah. We're not
Man
calling
cave.
it that, but it's his space for his friends and sports and all of that. And I get the whole top floor for me. So
That's
I'm
a good
loving it.
trade.
Yeah, I love it. So we're good with that. Let me ask you a question. How was it to leave your own homes when you left? How did that go for you and your parents?
When my mom and dad dropped me off at college, it was fun and exciting for me. Like I was like excited. And so it was my mom, my dad, and my sister and we drove out to Arizona, like forever away. And so there was the one Walmart there, and they were getting my stuff for my room, and everybody was there, all my friends. And so when it was time for them to leave, I was like, okay, bye, I love you, and it was the first time that I had ever seen my dad cry. He had his sunglasses on and tears were coming from underneath his sunglasses.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize, to me, I didn't even realize that this could like be hard for them. I thought that they'd be excited like I was. And so he's crying. I was like, Dad, why are you crying? And he just hugged me and got into the car. And then my mom was like, crying too. And then even, my sister got in the car and she was sad. And so they, instead of driving straight home, they decided to go to Disneyland because they just didn't want to go back home right away. And so I was like, wow, you went to Disneyland without me?
We're gone now.
So
How fun.
that's how I felt with it. So
Yeah. Rosaline, do you have?
Yeah. So, well, when I was in my latter teens, like I had told my mom that I wanted to move out. And she's like, pues vete, ahí está la puerta. She's like, well, go, there's the door, make sure you shut it. And so I tried it out, and I kid you not, a week later, I came back home and she goes, ¿Cómo estuvo? And how was it? And I was like, and she was telling me there's no place like home. And I said, you're absolutely right. But the second time when I went away to college, my parents didn't drop me off. My mom was dealing with all the other kids. So I'm sure she had some type of emotion and that she was missing me, but her thought was, I have 6 other kids that I need to take care of. So
Yeah.
so I'm sure,
she's fine. She's fine at Bible school.
Yeah. So
Jeanette, do you remember?
Well, I moved out when I got married, and I remember, oh man, this is sad as heck. I had, okay, so like right after I had gotten back from my honeymoon, I had gone to go visit my mom, and my mom was, a single mom since I was like 13. And my sister was, she's only 2 years younger than me, so she was already an adult. I'm trying to think, was she might've been away at college at that point, and I think so my mom was like alone. And so I went to go see her, and we started watching this movie. And why on God's green earth, we decided to watch this super sad movie of a mother and daughter. Okay. So I go and I'm like, all right. And then my then husband called me and, was by the door, and he's like, come on, we got to go. So I'm leaving, and I'm like, okay, bye, Mom. And I get in the car, and I'm like, and I'm crying and crying. And he's like, go back in the house and talk to your mom for a little while and like calm down. And then, so I went back in. And as I was walking in with the tears running down my face, my mom had been crying. So it was like this whole movie scene, like, So it was very hard for me when I left. It was definitely because I wasn't super close with my mom, and then knowing that she was alone, I think I was thinking of that too.
Yeah. I know for me, there were 2 things that happened with me because I did move out into my own apartment. My mom didn't talk to me for a while. I think it was like a couple of months. My dad was the one, we would talk on the phone all the time. And he would tell me how my mom was doing, but she wouldn't talk to me. It took a couple of months, and they finally came over for dinner, and she, she's giving me suggestions and all of that on the apartment. But then I moved back in when I was going to get married because my husband and I were going to move to Texas. So I moved back in, all my stuff, boxes and whatever. And then when I remember the scene when we were driving away, when it was time to move to Texas, And I looked up, we had a little trailer and, everything packed up into this car. And I looked up and my mom was in the bedroom window, which was the front bedroom. And she was sitting there and she was crying, just cry. And I cried for the 20 hours that it took us to get to our apartment in Texas. All I could do is cry. And I can only imagine my husband, like, what happened? What did I do here? But it was really hard because and then it was, we talked every day, a couple times a day, but so that was difficult to do. Let me ask you this question for Reg or Rosalina, and I think I'll start with Rosalina because Reg is already saying that, Cruz is going to be with her forever. But is there anything, not looking at Selah necessarily leaving, but anything that you might be looking forward to in terms of a home, again, with your husband, and it's the two of you?
I think being able to travel and do like weekend getaways and just rediscover ourselves in the relationship, being able to spend time with each other. Because obviously right now our world revolves around Selah, and all her activities and her schooling. But I am looking forward to just developing a deeper relationship with him, just talking about things, traveling, and having that free time, Selah will always tease me, "You're not done with that book?" And I would tell her, "I'm a mom. I'm busy all the time. I will finish the book when I can." So looking forward to that free time to be able to just read, travel. And I think one other thing is just, I really am looking forward to seeing her develop and grow as an adult, So I just want to experience her in that stage of a young adult.
Yeah, one of the things that we really do need to realize is that parenting looks different at different stages of the child's life. And I use the word child, but my children are adults. But we have to realize that that's part of the newness and the freshness of our relationship with our children, is that not only are we developing, we're always entering a new stage of life, new thinking and new modes and whatever, but our children are as well. And so, I have to remind myself of the promise of God, right? Which is in Proverbs 22:6, where just train a child.
Yes.
Just train a child in my ways. And when they grow old, they're going to come back to me. So if there even is a period of, for them, a space where God is not necessarily the center, they're going to come back because they know, right? And I think about that. It's, where my girls are now is, I said a few years ago, I've reached the point in my life where I can go into my eternity at peace because I know that my girls are so solid in their faith, and their husbands are solid in their faith. So I rest well in that. Like, your promise, because they had their adolescent period where they were pulling away, and they're back. And I said, Lord, your promise is real, and I can stand on that. So we need to remember that. We need to remember that God's promise, he's not only sovereign, but he's also so faithful to us. And so I share that with everybody because sometimes it gets scary. Sometimes we don't know, we're not assured. And so I want to just leave our viewers with some advice, some things that we've learned. And I'm going to share what those are, but if you have some input, please share it with us. I have 4 things that I thought of, and one of them is adjust your attitude. you know, and that's really connected to, you're no longer parenting a 6-year-old. You know, you're parenting an adult. Maybe it's marriage, maybe it's college experience, maybe it's moving out and just adulting, as they say, you know. Adjust your attitude, pace yourself, and check yourself when you're getting ahead of the game or something. So does anybody have anything,
Just
you
tell
know?
my boys, I tell my boys, I'm teaching you how to do these things now so that when you go out on your own, you'll know how, you'll be a viable, you know, human being on this planet, you know, like you'll take care of yourself, you'll wash your own clothes, you'll know how to cook for yourself. You're not going to be depending on somebody. I'm not teaching you how to do these things so that I don't have to do them for you. I'm teaching you so that while you're in my, you know, rubber band, or my nest, exactly. You know, you'll know. So when I finally kick you out of the nest and you have to fly on your own, you'll know how to cook, to
Exactly.
clean, to do the dishes, to you know, keep yourself alive, and that you're not depending on somebody else, because
Right.
that's my job, is to
Yeah.
teach you how to, you know, and yeah, you know, one of these days I'm gonna have to let you go. But when I do, or when you do decide to go, um, you'll be able to take care of yourself.
Right.
Mhm.
I like that, Reg, because I like the idea of shifting that a little bit, right? And it's not about, I'm doing all of these things for my benefit. I'm doing them for your benefit. You're the one who gets to enjoy that. The second one I have is shift your setting. Now, you know, Jeanette asked about the physical space. My house is totally shifted. It's getting ready for a grandchild, right? So it's shifted. It looks different. It looks more like my parents' house did, you know, when my girls were born. So and Jeanette, you know, Papo now has an office in the basement. That was not necessarily possible when the boys were there. And then when it's JD's turn, right, when she leaves, you have even more space. Okay, sorry. Sorry, I said that. Oh my goodness. And then of course she's also the girl, she's the baby, you know, those types of things come into play as well. So looking forward to that now there is a space where I can get away. I can get up early in the morning and I'm gonna sit in the front room by myself. Taper the traditions. This is one we haven't talked about, but what do you do with traditions? You know, we have to accommodate that we have in-laws, that my girls have in-laws. You know, it's not just us. So traditional things we've been doing forever, for Christmas, for Thanksgiving. It's like, okay, Rick, here we are at the end of the night because they have to go to 2 dinners. And then of course, when they have children, right, there's another shift because now there's a baby that can't be dragged everywhere like when they're on their own, you know. So
you're going to their house.
Yeah, except there's in-laws as well, right? So again, we don't necessarily have them. And then the last thing I want to share is and this is something that I know I have now, Celine made mention of it for her future, and that is sit in the stillness. Enjoy God. You've got this opened up space to be with God, be in the presence of God, read the books, you know, enjoy the word in a different way. You're not looking at the clock. I have to get breakfast. I have to make sure that they get, you know, the commute to take them to school or activities is happening. So enjoy the stillness because life does slow down a little bit. And of course, the last thing is the grocery bill does go down and then you have money to enjoy all of those activities that you want to enjoy. Ladies, any last tips for?
I just wanted to say one thing. My sister, she always would say, wow, how come I have, let me see, how do she say it? Wow, how come I have 3 kids and no monies? I'd rather have no money than 3 kids, right? Well, then all her kids are, getting out of the house, and she's just, I mean, she's like kind of in this like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? you know? So,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, I mean, you think that, gosh, it would be so nice. And then when it comes down to it, you're like, I'd rather have my kids than the money. Like, just,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think of it like this. I have my kids. The dynamic is not the same as it was when they were 15, 12 years old. So, but yeah, they're not
now
gone.
you're going to have grandkids. So you still
Yes.
are going to be spending a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a whole other source now. Yeah.
Probably more.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. But we're older, so we have more than we did when my kids were little, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks, my friends. I'm so grateful. I love this conversation. I think it was fun. We're at different stages of this emptiness spectrum. So I think there are a lot of things that we can learn from each other and things that we got to reminisce about. Because for me, I'm just, I'm hearing you and I got to relive or rethink the beginning of this. And let me tell you where I am right now. I'm the furthest along here. It's a beautiful place to be in. It's just a great time of life. And conversations change, and I always look forward to that. And falling in love with my husband just has been such a gift in that process. So enjoy it. It is a good season. God says, don't worry, trust your children to him, and he's got them. So
Amen.
Bless you all. Ladies, bless you. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.